Hello and welcome to Lit by Moonlight, where it's not a phase to throw elaborate parties just so one girl you like will show up.
Yeah, it's not a phase. It's not a phase.
Still doing it.
Nick Carraway's neighbor, Jay Gatsby, is an enigma. His cousin Daisy is the object of Gatsby's eye, but there is more than the Manhasset Bay keeping them apart. Through Nick's eyes, we see Gatsby as a mystery, a friend, a nightmare, a fool, and a tragedy as he pines for Daisy's lost love. Through Nick's story, we learn that there is no elaborate party, yellow Duesenberg, or closet full of beautiful shirts that can reignite their love. And the glowing green light across the bay that Gatsby so mournfully reaches for will always be out of reach.
Aww.
Ah, that sucks.
Sucks for him.
Yikes.
My name is Kaitlin, and I wish the outdoors would let me be their friend.
What are they doing to you?
Every time I go outside, I'm like, what a beautiful day, and then I can't breathe.
No, stop trying to choke Kaitlin to death. Not good. Bad.
That's where all the oxygen was, but
yeah.
I'm not allowed it.
I'm Emberlyn, and I don't think we should let Mark Wahlberg be in movies anymore.
Do you have a reason
No.
for that? Okay.
I do not have a reason.
She doesn't have a reason, but we do have a book to talk about this week.
Yes.
We are talking about, of course, The Great Gatsby, as we have already established, but why not repeat it for the 80th time already in 2 minutes? Was there a specific moment in The Great Gatsby that hooked you?
I think for anyone who hasn't read the book before, there might be an air of mystery surrounding Mr. Gatsby before you meet him. There are rumors among the New York socialites about who he truly is, and I think that question of who he is, of why he's reaching for the light at the end of the dock, is an intriguing one, and I think that's what really drew me in when I first read this book back in high school, and what continues to be really intriguing to me now, on maybe like a second or third read. And then there's also something about the way that Fitzgerald writes that immerses you in the story of Gatsby and in Nick Carraway's perspective of it all. I appreciate both of those things so greatly, and that's really what kept me fully immersed in the book. How about you?
Yeah, 100% the mystery of who Gatsby is for me. That's who, we read this when, was it our sophomore year? No, our junior year of high school. I remember, that was really what was intriguing to me the first time. And then even, this time around, it had been a while since I had read it. In fact, since junior year of high school, to be specific, since I read it and watched the movie. So I was like, oh, yeah, what was everything about him? Who is he? So that was really cool, because I love it when books don't always give you the full truth about a character in the beginning, because I'm a sucker for puzzles, and I love trying to put all the pieces together. And I can't do that without reading the book more. So, of course, hearing so much about Gatsby before we even meet him really got me intrigued. And then you meet him, and you still don't know what's really true and what's not. So it's just really fun to put all those pieces together and see which ones fit.
It is. There's something so mysterious at the beginning of this book for anyone who hasn't read it that I feel really draws you in. That's why it might be one of the few books that I really enjoyed from high school. So did you have a favorite quote from this book?
Yeah, I got a couple. When Jordan asked Nick, okay, sorry, I'm just reading what I put. This is really funny. When Jordan asked Nick, having a gay time now? I burst out laughing because I know that by gay she means happy, but also this time around, because this was my second time reading the book, I was reading into all the hints that Nick might be gay, because there's been a lot of people who have pondered that question of could his character be gay? So I was I want to try and I want to see what people are trying to pick up on from that reading, and just see if anything comes out. So when she asked him that, it just got me laughing. I was just ooh, I hope he's having a great time now.
Yeah. You better be.
You better be. And then later when Nick says, imagining that I too was hurrying toward gaiety, I was yeah, bud, you got it.
Yeah, good job.
Let's go.
Nice. Thumbs up.
So that was just really fun for me this time around. Also, when Gazy said, I'd like to just get one of those pink clouds and put you in it and push you around, because that's the 1920s equivalent to I want to study him like a bug. And it also made me laugh out loud.
That's so true.
And then honorable mention to Old Sport because Gatsby says it 43 times in the book. And yes, I counted.
Really? 43 times?
Yeah. Yeah, I had it on my phone, totally legally, in case anybody's asking. And so I was able to like highlight all the time. Like the first time he said it, I was like, I'm gonna highlight every time he says Old Sport, and so I did, and it was 43.
Wow, that's a lot of times. That's a lot of times to say that.
A lot of times to say those words. How about you? Did you have a favorite quote?
Yeah, I had two. And they were both kind of heavy. I feel like yours were cool. Mine were like sad. Mine were like emo.
This is why we have a podcast, baby. One of us is fun sometimes, and the other one of us is actually deep and analytical about the literature we're talking about.
And brooding and depressed. So my first was life starts all over again when it gets crisp in the fall. And I just wrote he's so right for that. Like, it's such a simple line, but I've heard it so many times used on quirky Christian Girl Autumn coffee mugs and signs and Instagram posts. And it just, like, it hits, man. Like, when I heard the lines, I was like, oh, that's familiar. Yeah, and in, like, a completely comforting and, like, toasty, like, warm and fuzzy way. I was like, yeah, it does. Yeah, it does, man. I was really into that. And then the end line, which really gets me going every time. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. Ow. Like, just imagine me, like, conking my head as I roll down my stairs, going, ow, 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 each time my head hits the stairs.
Yeah. Because,
like, the implication of that is, like, no matter what we do, no matter how we dream, we cannot escape our past or push forward. And I was like, don't.
That's so heavy because, like, first of all, when I read it this time, I audibly went, oof. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's the end. Okay, we're just going to end on that note. Cool.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting because, yeah, I think in a way, well, like, you can't escape your, like, what's done is done.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You can't go back and change it. But I feel like it's such, like, a heavy and depressing take on it. Be like, what's the point? Whatever happened, happened.
Right.
It's like, okay, yeah, that happened, but you can still, like, grow and change from that, you know?
Right.
And it just seemed like, and the way this book ends is so kind of depressing, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's an interesting way to, that, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, and it won't be said eloquently, but, like, how you just kind of gotta make, do what you can with the life that you're given, you know?
Keep beating on your boat, homie.
Yeah, like, you know what's over the horizon. Like, okay, yeah, there was a storm back there, but look at the sunset. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
And that's my hot take.
I love it. I don't know, because, like, that was kind of my thinking, too. Like, I don't know what the intention is, and I probably could have looked more into it, but I was just kind of like, meh. But I wondered about the interpretation of this line, because in one sense I'm like, so it's good, I suppose, that we do continue to beat on against the current, you know, with this intention of getting better. I really appreciate that human spirit, to that desire to be better. But I wonder if the message underneath that is like, even if you do, you'll still end up where you were. And I don't like that.
I don't like that at
all. I don't
all.
want that. No.
I'm choosing not to interpret it like that.
No. Imagine me just, like, putting the book down and then just, like, hiding it under my mattress and being like, no, I don't want that.
And yet, F. Scott Fitzgerald is just like, and yet you come back to this book after it was already in your past.
It reminds me of that line from Arrested Development where George Bluth is like, I don't want these. And that, like, was my favorite meme for years, because, like, that's the, yes.
I love that show so much.
Yeah.
I don't want these.
Like, I don't want these. Like, yeah. So, Kaitlin, what song would you ask the band to play at your late night wild mansion parties?
I said Cruel by Jackson Wang, simply because that song came out recently. It came out recently, and I really like it. It came out recently, and it has the lyrics, "I'm coming back to you, so I really hope you don't mind. I know you want me to, even though you're not mine," which just, to me, screams Gatsby
Ruh-roh.
to Daisy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is convenient.
Yeah.
So Cruel by Jackson Wang would be my song played at the mansion party. How about you?
I'll tell you, but first I want you to know that when you said Cruel, I immediately thought of Cool by the Jonas Brothers. And I was like, why would that be? I'm feeling so cool. I was like, why?
Listen, I was a Jonas Brothers girl once. Maybe I still am.
I was going to say once.
But we don't have time to unpack all that. What song would you pick?
So do you remember in the Baz Luhrmann movie,
do I remember?
That is it. Yeah. Do you remember when there's like this really great little cover of Crazy Right Now by Beyonce?
Yeah.
Like big
How could I
band
forget?
cover. Yeah, I love that. I think that would be playing.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Also, that soundtrack remains superior.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. Not that I really see anyone having any discourse about the soundtrack ever, but the way wow, I can talk. The way they used music in that movie was just incredible.
Yeah, Fox.
Like, I mean, that's where the Lana Del Rey song, "Young and Beautiful" comes from. Like, yeah, it was written for that movie. I'm not gonna look that up, but I'm just gonna.
I have just determined that it was written for that movie.
Listen, I procrastinated a bit in high school, and I still got pretty far. And doesn't mean that I'm gonna do any more work for this podcast.
We're still here,
which is my pride and joy. But no, I just thought it was so cool. Sometimes I feel like in movies or TV shows when you try to take a story that takes place in the past and then you bring in current music, it can be done very not good.
Mm-hmm.
And, just like my grammar right there was not good. But I don't know, like this one really, I don't know, just really floated my boat, you know?
It's
really
a
wiggled
special.
my wagon.
It's really special. And if you've ever seen Moulin Rouge, which is Luhrmann's movie before this, like the way that it's wound in there too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Like I guess an example of that would be like in Bridgerton, they take modern songs and they make it orchestral. And sometimes I remember it would kind of take me out of it, but other times I don't know, it really grew on me. So I guess that's an example of where it can work and where it can't work. But it's just the vibes of this movie are very specific.
Yeah.
And I just really like the soundtrack.
And they hit in a certain way. Right.
They do be hitting.
I think it's funny, like earlier you said, like, I don't know if there's any discourse about this album. I would like to meet somebody who, like, I would like to meet somebody who just violently hates the soundtrack for The Great Gatsby. Like, has a whole, like, hate account dedicated to it. Like, this is a Great Gatsby, Baz Luhrmann movie soundtrack hate account. And they just, like... tweet about how much they hate it, and it's like 2022, the movie's been out for years, the soundtrack's been out for years, and they still just like really don't like it, and they still talk about it every day. I'd like to talk to that person.
Yeah, I don't think that person exists, but if they do, what's your opinion? Tell me.
Yeah, I'm gonna find him. I wanna
I would like to hear your take.
Yeah, what's your take?
So what character in this book is your beautiful little fool affectionate?
I think Nick Carraway is probably my beautiful little fool, because as a narrator, he's really fascinating. The way we see the world through his eyes is really fast. It's just like really wow. Like the intricate ways in which life is described and perceived by him, and these like swirling blurs of like parties and bond selling and cigarettes and little like vignettes where he talks about whatever. I love that. I have no idea what's going on, but I'm along for the ride.
Which is kind of like how he is throughout this entire book.
Yeah. I'm obsessed. Yeah.
Obsessed with it. I also said Nick Carraway because as a narrator, he's just like, he's literally just like you said, like he's just along for the ride, and he's here to observe all the drama without getting too involved. And as someone who loves tea, but not to be the part of the brewing, I was like, hell yeah, dude, enjoy the fancy parties, gather information, observe the love triangle, and stay away from the murder. You got this.
Mm-hmm.
You do you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was just great. Like same with Jordan. She's essentially just kind of vibing the whole book, too.
Yeah.
Like, it's like with, like, fame nowadays. It's like, oh, that'd be kind of cool to, like, be famous. You know, everyone kind of wants, like, maybe not everyone, but, like, a lot of people would, like to see how it is to be famous, but maybe not necessarily like get in too deep, because I feel like especially like with Hollywood culture, it's like a lot and consuming and terrible. But I think like Nick kind of gets to do that in a way where he gets to be super involved but like not get any of the consequences from it, or like no one knows who he is. He's not involved in like whatever the hell Gatsby's involved in. He doesn't.
You're like a groupie.
He's just kind of there. And someone who just likes to be just kind of there in those situations, I'd be like, I don't know. I respect him for that. He was just kind of funny.
Yeah, I like that too. That's the level of famous I want to be. I want to be like the Rob Kardashian level of famous. Like, I'm just there. I'm like kind of observing. I kind of get into some hot water sometimes, but I'm not really like the big deal. I'm just kind of there to make a little money, have a couple brand deals, all that, you know?
Yeah.
So what character, speaking of the Kardashians, do you think is part of a rotten crowd?
I mean, Tom, obviously. He abuses women, he's racist, and he is also hypocritical in terrible ways. So, of course, he's part of the rotten crowd.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I want to mention Gatsby, too, because, once again, at the end of the book, the way he tells Daisy how to feel and to tell Tom that he tells Daisy to tell Tom that she never loved him. Mm-hmm. It makes me feel icky.
Yeah.
Like, it's all just because he spent 5 years in love with the Daisy that he created in his head. Like, yes, they were in love once, but he left and she moved on, and he spent so much time in his fantasy world, and he became so detached from reality that he couldn't understand how or why Daisy could love someone else. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, the possession that he felt that he had over her, and the way that both he and Tom talked about her when she was literally in the same room with them, just made me feel like really, really icky and gross and not nice.
It's giving like the Sono head Vine guy.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Man's gonna like break his skateboard. He's pissed.
Yeah, and like I totally get it. Like, you meet someone and you have all of these emotions for them, but like if you can't like come back to reality and be like, you were gone for a while and they moved on with their life, and it's not their fault that you chose to stay in that moment. Like, they're not even the same. Like, that's 5 years ago. You're not the same person you were 5 years ago. And he just made me icky.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what that means. Maybe that's what the line means. Maybe it's you're trying to get back to where you were. So you're a boat beating on against the current, trying to get back to the past, and the boat's taking you away because you can't go back. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I can't remember how it ended.
I feel like the whole like, so we beat on boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. I can read.
Oh, ceaselessly into the past. Right.
Yeah, I feel like that quote is almost just like, okay, like, yes, that all happened. And I feel like that quote in relation to Gatsby, it's just like he let his past overtake him.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
He was stuck in the past. Like, he could have kept going, but he just kept coming, like, circling back to his past, and he wouldn't let that move on for them. I feel like that's an example of how, yes, you can't change what happened in your past, but you're letting that take over you, whereas, like, Daisy can't take back what happened in the past, but she moved on. Like, they're the two opposites in that. High schoolers, if you're listening, that's an essay.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You can write an essay on it. Also, share it with me. I'll read it.
I think Tom is, like, the obvious answer because he's, like, wilding the entire book. Like, he's just, like, consistently the most paranoid person there. He's like, people are out to get me, and I need to be, like, he's just wilding. Like, he's just one of those old rich people that's like super paranoid about his place in society being taken over by other people, about all of his old money being taken, and the vibes are not good. The vibes are not good. Yeah. Like, stop.
Get some help.
Get some help.
So, did you have 2 peaks in the valley for this book? I don't know why I always ask, do you have? Because we always do. But what are your 2 peaks in the valley for this book?
Wouldn't it be funny if I was like, nope. I don't have any.
I don't
None.
Have... Sometimes that happens, guys. Sometimes we don't have 2 peaks.
Sometimes I don't even have a valley.
Yeah.
I would say that the writing in this book goes down really smoothly, like a nice glass of coffee. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum.
Those are my thoughts. I just like the way this guy, I like the writing. I like it. It's just like, it's a tasty treat on a hot summer day.
It's a tasty treat, yeah.
How about you?
My first peak was that I genuinely enjoyed this book so much, both now and in high school. I remember reading it in high school and just being like, oh my, like, I feel like junior year, we read a lot of really good books. Mm-hmm. And like this one, I just remember being excited that I had to do homework about it.
Yeah.
Sounds very like nerdy of me, but like, you know, it is what it is, baby. Like, I remember being like, yeah, I want to analyze this book. Oh my God, please, can I just keep reading this book? I'm really interested in it. And we just had a phenomenal teacher that year too. Shout out Miss Coco, love of my life. Yeah. She's great. But we just, I don't know, I really, really like this book. And I feel like if you didn't get to read this in high school, you should read it now. Mm-hmm. And if you are reading it in high school, lucky you. And if you don't like it and you're reading in high school, give it some time and read it again when you don't have to do it for homework. Because I really feel like, and I said this last week too, but having to read a book because you're told to and because you have to do work from it and to get a grade, I feel like it really does take away from reading sometimes. Or not all the time, but it has the ability to do that, and it did that for me. So just being able to read this book for fun and for enjoyment, I had a great time. It's a wonderful, really well-written story. But also it was really nice to have that when I was in high school and actually enjoy it and be like, okay, yeah, I want to analyze this book. I want to write an essay on this. Like, yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I think that's all based, honestly, because like it was a good book. Like, I think it was one of the few that I actually really enjoyed. Yeah, for sure.
What was your second?
My second peak is just gay. Like, question mark. I like that there's like some ambiguity at some points in the book that kind of suggests that maybe there's something going on there. There's been many different interpretations of some of the lines that I'm describing to you now. And, like, I don't know what to make of it in the sense that, like, I don't really know, like, what the intentions were of Fitzgerald when he wrote those lines, but I'm having a great time with them. Like, I'm trying to remember exactly how we were asked to, or like, how we were kind of guided to interpret those lines in high school.
I remember Miss Coco being like, I just remember all of us like talking about it, and I remember her saying like, some people read this book and through the lens of Nick being gay. And
it's
I remember,
me.
like,
I'm some people.
Hearing that. Yeah. And I remember hearing that and being like, that's interesting. And like, I remember a couple of people doing that for a project or whatever we had to do. And I wasn't one of those people, but I was cool. One of those people this time. Just because it was interesting. And the one that really stuck out to me, a moment for Nick, was that it was like after a party and he was with this guy in the elevator and he says, I don't know, it just kind of cuts to him being like, it was like ... I was standing beside his bed and he was sitting up between the sheets clad in his underwear with a great portfolio in his hands. And I was like, how did you get there? What's going on here?
And what is that portfolio? Is it a portfolio or is it a penis?
Like what's going on? Like, something happened. If he's not gay, he's bi. Like, he also was with Jordan.
Oh yeah.
So
oh yeah.
There's something there, and it's not in your face, but it's also not there. You know, I don't know. There's something about him.
So, my valley for this book.
Don't ask me about my second peak. It's fine.
So, Kaitlin's peak for this book. I was ready to go on. I was ready to be negative. Go ahead.
That's okay. No. Speaking of gay media, maybe it's because they continue to live rent free in my head. But this book was giving me so many little parallels of Gatsby and Daisy to Ed and Steed from Our Flag Means Death. If anyone's made a bingo board for our podcast, you've got that square covered. How many times is Kaitlin going to mention this freaking show in this podcast?
Why haven't I made a bingo board yet for our podcast where I put that?
You should, because we'd have so many bingos. But I just think that there's a lot of things that kind of coincide with their stories, and I think that if you're in high school and you watched that show and you read this book, you could probably write an essay for it. Yeah. I did have some notes that I took.
Oh my god.
When I was here. Let's see if I can find it.
I mean, I'll use this opportunity to tell you that if you're like a high schooler and you're like really into fandom culture, you should absolutely find ways to build that love into your schoolwork so that it'll make your schoolwork more bearable to do. And I say this because one time, I think it was in junior year history, we were supposed to write like short stories or something about, I don't know, I don't really know what we're supposed to write about. But anyway, I wrote essentially a Sherlock fan fiction.
Oh, yeah.
And I really enjoyed it, and I got a really good grade on it. And I think it's just because I was having a good time.
Yeah, because if you love something so much, like if you're out there and like you have a show that's like, you know, consuming you, and you can find a way to put that in your schoolwork, you're going to have so much fun. I think we had some sort of project our senior year in AP English, where part of it was like we had to make like a playlist, and we had to specify like why each song was in the playlist and like what we were building it off of. And I totally based off of, I was in my Whofaldi era, baby. Wow. The 12th Doctor, Clara Oswald from Doctor Who, big shipper. Put that into that project, and I also did very well on it because I cared so much about it and I wanted it to be good.
I can't believe she made us write a play. That's so cool. She just signed the best projects.
Miss Coco.
Wow.
God bless her.
Yeah.
I did find a couple of quotes that I highlighted for my Black Bonnet AU sort of thing. So if you're a high schooler and you wanna, and I'm not gonna do the work for you, but I'm just nudging you in the direction. There's a quote that said, "He had been full of the idea so long, dreamed it right through to the end, waited with his teeth set, so to speak, at an inconceivable pitch of intensity. Now, in the reaction, he was running down like an overwound clock." And I just said, oh, sugarcoats, where did it go? Hello? I said, there's a Black Bonnet Gatsby AU somewhere in here.
There's something in there, yeah.
And then I also put, it makes me sad. There's a quote that says, "It makes me sad because I've never seen such beautiful shirts before," which is just such an Ed thing to say. And I was like, Black Bonnet Gatsby AU, I'm saying. And then I'm going to fix everything just the way it was before. And I said, okay, Steed.
Ruh-roh, that was, like, nope.
Again, there's just like little things, and I totally could just be because the show is consistently just playing in the background in my head.
Yeah. But
I think you could do something with it. You could totally do something with it.
No,
so,
yeah.
Once again, if you're a high schooler out there or someone who just wants to write an essay that has parallels between The Great Gatsby and Our Flag Means Death, by all means, send it my way. I will read it. So hard.
She'll actually grade it for you, too. Like,
I'll grade it for you, and you'll get an A immediately.
You'll get an A immediately.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Did you have any valleys for this?
Old Sport.
Just that? Just that. Did you hear it 43 times too many? Is that it?
43 times too many. I will I'll put a screenshot in our story when this comes out of just all of the highlighted old sports in my notes. It just happens so many times, and it's one of those things where, you know, we all have like a word that we say a lot, whether we realize it or not. I have been told by my uncle that I say whatnot a lot.
Oh, whatnot. That's a good one.
Because he calls a lot, and I say whatnot a lot, and now I'm super hyper aware of it every time I say it. So when I was like looking for, when I was started to count how many times, or just keep track of how many times Old Sport was said, every time he said it, I was like, you just said this 2 lines ago. Like,
Stop
come up with a new nickname.
Heard, yeah.
There was one point where Tom was like, stop calling me Old Sport. And then immediately Jay Gatsby was just like, okay, Old Sport. I was just like, dude, come on.
Bro, turn it down a couple notches, bro.
it was hilarious, but I was just like, oh my god,
enough!
Come up.
Yeah.
Like, why? I just want to know why Old Sport. But what really gets me going is that I don't know if anyone follows Spark Notes on Instagram, but they call everybody Old Sport in the comments.
Hilarious.
They're like, we totally know Old Sport, or good luck on your essay, Old Sport. And I'm just like, I respect you for that.
Their intern deserves so much for that. Like,
oh my god, I hope they're getting paid well.
Yes.
What was your valley?
Mine is like, I understand that the writer writes what they know, like that's often the case with a lot of novelists, but Fitzgerald really did not know how to write anything that wasn't inspired by his wife Zelda, like her likeness, which is who Daisy is based off of, her letters, her diaries. I don't know why, but that just fucks me. It's like, men really cannot have one original thought, huh? Like, not a one. Like, it's like, what's my wife doing? Let me publish a book off of that and become exceedingly famous. And there's one point where I believe she accuses him of plagiarism, and I don't know if this was like, it was kind of like joking, but it was also kind of like, ha 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 ha, yeah,
I'm gonna see your ass.
And I think that's they had a pretty toxic relationship anyway, both of them. But like, there's something just to me that's valid, because like, I don't know, like write about is your life that boring that you're like, my wife is not boring and she's not a loser, but I am a loser and I'm boring, so I'm gonna have to write about her. Like, great writer, but like,
I would just at least get her permission first. I meant to look this up before we started, but I didn't.
I believe that she gave him permission at one point, but then down the line was kind of like, So
I wish I didn't do that, because wasn't it like it was her diaries, right?
Yeah, and like, I don't know, it's just like that kind of gives me the ick. I don't know why, it just gives me the ick. Like, so I don't know why I made this suggestion last time when we did this, but I said we should both tell a high school story each podcast.
Really making my brain hurt,
which is really scary, because I think I literally don't remember it, and it's like kind of scary that I don't remember it. Like, I feel like I need to go to a therapist and work that out, because I do not remember high school at all.
I remember a lot of high school, but not
any of it.
Nothing. I remember it, but I don't. Like, I remember the high points for me, and I remember some low points for me, but like, not enough to be like, oh yeah, I remember in high school when this person said this.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, I'm sure if I scrolled through pictures from high school, I'd be like, oh, I could remember certain things, but
I remember being at Sam's house a lot, and that's pretty much it. And I don't remember anything else.
Those were the most important parts for the days at Sam's house. But do you have a story?
I do remember that, and this is a Gatsby-related story. I think this was my sophomore year, maybe my freshman year. I'm going to say sophomore. No, freshman year. It was Halloween, and I wore a flapper costume. And two other very, very, very pretty girls in a couple grades above me also wear flapper costumes. And we were all like, oh my god, we gotta get a picture together. So we got this picture. I gotta find it. And they both look gorgeous. Like, they were both very slim, very beautiful women. Or girls, I suppose, and they both like are posing, and then there's me on the end, and I look disheveled.
Oh, baby!
Because I spent most of my high school. This is probably why I don't remember it. I think I spent most of high school very disheveled. So like, it's just these two gorgeous girls. They're posed exactly the same. Their hands are at the same height. And then there's me, and my hands are a little slanted down, and I just like have this face of like true discomfort, as all freshmen do.
This is not on you at all, but your description of it just made me think of Hold on. It just made me think of the SNL skit where it's just like, and I'm Dooney.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Yeah. They're like, I'm wearing a flapper dress. I'm also wearing a flapper dress. And I like carrots, and I like to stick them in my mouth with hummus and then chew them around and spit them out and feed them from my mouth to my dog's mouth. Like a little baby bird.
I like chasing cars.
And I like chasing cars. And I, sometimes I don't know, like, I'm a mess. I really was a mess.
That's hilarious.
One time I kept a sandwich in my locker that my dad made me for too long, and it grew mold.
Nice.
Everybody else is like, I'm beautiful, I'm gorgeous. And I'm like, one time I kept a sandwich in my locker that had mold on it. And when I took it out, I smelled it and thought, maybe I could still eat this because I'm pretty hungry today. And I didn't have snack time, but I definitely couldn't. So I threw it in the trash can, and my stats teacher came out and said, hey, what's that smell? And I said, oh, nothing. It's not me at all. I don't smell like that. I wear deodorant, because I was so uncomfortable and self-conscious that I smelled like BO, but it was just the sandwich. And then I locked my locker. And it still smelled like that for many months afterward.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I share a piece of myself on this podcast that no one else in the world gets anywhere else, not even Kaitlin.
This is true. That's the first time I've heard of this locker sandwich story, and my locker was across the hall from her. That's what that smell was.
Yup. The aroma came back to me when I realized how much of a mess I was. What's yours?
Like I said, I don't remember a lot from high school, but here's something that stuck with me forever.
Begging, okay.
It makes me laugh to this day, and now, if you've been a long time listener of this podcast, you know my humor is so stupid. Doesn't take a lot. If you know me in real life, you could say the dumbest shit, and I will be in tears laughing. But this, it was my sophomore year of high school. We were in Spanish class. And there was this guy named Kyle, and our teacher did not like him. Yeah. Why? I don't know, because half the time he really wasn't doing anything, but she just kept yelling at him for no reason.
I remember this, yeah.
And sometimes, but like, he was also the type of person who'd be like, if I can make people laugh or if I can make our teacher mad, I'm gonna do it. Which I kind of respected. Yeah. So we were in Spanish class, and it is pivotal to the story that in Spanish, nosotros is we. And so Kyle raises his hand, and he's like, so if you're like in Spain or wherever, like, and they speak Spanish, and they're going on a roller coaster, and when all like the Spaniards are going down the roller coaster, do they go nosotros? And it still makes me laugh to
That's
this
so
day.
stupid.
Our teacher, she got so mad at him. I think she yelled at him for like disrupting class. No. And I'm over here in the corner like trying not to burst out laughing because it was the funniest shit I heard all day. It was like the day had just started, and I was like, oh my god. And sometimes like I'll go by and like if we go to like an amusement park, which is never, but if I just even think about a roller coaster or I see one, I just think, nosotros.
Honestly, that's a really good joke. Like,
it makes me laugh so hard. It was just
that's
so
really
stupid.
Good. Wow.
Shout out to Kyle.
Yeah.
That's gonna stick with me forever.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
So, coming back to taking the roller coaster back to our book for a second. On a scale of 1 to 5, old sports. How many old sports would you give this book?
I would give this 4 old sports out of 5. I hope that everyone reads this book at some point in their lives. It's just a good book. It's a good story. It's an interesting outlook on a period of time that is like, everyone calls it the Roaring 20s, but like not everyone was having a roaring time.
Not everybody was having a roaring time.
Yeah,
most
and
people were living through the Great Depression. So
some people are doing that now.
Yeah. Huh. It's almost like the Roaring Twenties weren't roaring. Unless you were super rich.
It's almost like we beat on boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past.
Oh no.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. Like I said, both in high school, which was rare, and now, which is very fun. So 4 out of 5 old sports for me. How many old sports do you rate this book? Old sport.
I think 4 out of 5 was my answer too. Because wait.
What?
I just thought of another high school story.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So I'm saying this because I just realized I kind of copied you in this sense. So one time.
Oh my god! I know.
I feel like we can wait till next week to tell this, but I want to tell it now because I'll forget.
No, you can do it now.
One time, Kaitlin and I took a class in our global class. One time, Kaitlin and I had a global quiz in our global class, hence global quiz. And we sat next to each other, but our desks were all kind of like far apart. Like I wouldn't be able to see what she was writing in her paper, nor would she be able to see what I was writing on mine.
Correct.
And it was multiple choice, and then I think the very last question was like a open answer. So we wrote our answers down, and then we wrote our open answers, and we all handed them in. And I did not think about this for weeks until it was graded. And when it was graded, it came back to us with writing on the side. But the writing, it was just like half of writing, like it just written vertically down the paper. Yeah. But I couldn't like figure out what it said. And I was like, why the fuck? So I went up to my global teacher. I said, hey, what is this? Like, did you accidentally write on this? He goes, go find the person in the class that matches what's written on it. I was like,
You made a game.
Okay. Which, first of all, is so embarrassing, like, because, like, everybody else is getting their scores back, but meanwhile, like, I have to go around to every other fucking person and try to find who matches their paper, and in the process, show other people my score, and yada yada. Like, very embarrassing. So, I go around the room, I find Kaitlin at the end of all this. She also has the writing on her paper. Is that the perspective you have on this as well?
Yeah, I don't remember a lot. I remember, like, the worry of, like, him thinking that we cheated, but knowing that we didn't. And I didn't know how to explain to him that, yes, we sat near each other, but no, we didn't cheat, because I'm too afraid of consequences, especially then. Like, I was terrified of getting in trouble.
Yeah, same.
I never went to the principal's office. I never did, like, I never on purpose.
Yeah, I don't think I ever got in trouble in high school either. Yeah.
I was terrified.
Same.
So there was no way. Like, and like when we say that we sat next to each other, like, we had a space in between each other.
Yeah. Because it'd make you separate your desks for quizzes.
Yeah. Because teachers do that. And so, like, we were, and Emerald and I, it's like, we're very close friends. Mm-hmm. In case you didn't know that already, but we were very, very close in high school too, and so he knew that, so I think it was just automatic for him to be like, they're near each other, they're best friends, they totally like cheated off of each other. And I just remember just trying to be him like,
no,
like, explain to him like, we didn't, I swear to God, we did not cheat on this test. And I was just like terrified of getting in trouble. And it was like, this is how my brain works. So I'm such a paranoid person where I'm like, I cheated on this test, and therefore I'm never gonna finish high school, and I'm never gonna get into college.
It was terrifying. And, like, because that's what happened was ultimately I found her, we connected our papers, and the writing basically formed, like, something that said, like, explain to me why you have the same answers, or, like, you both cheated, or just, it said something of that nature. And that's how we found out, like, that we were being accused of cheating, was he'd written this writing in between our papers, and when we connected them, it made the full, like...
It's like the Parent Trap when they put the
when they put the photo together.
That's my mom. That's my dad. Except it's like, I didn't cheat on you. I swear to God.
I distinctly remember that the reason he thought this is because we'd gotten all of our multiple choice answers the same, and then our last answer on the test, the question had been something, and we hadn't known it, and we'd both put the Queen of England ? Or something of that nature.
I don't even remember.
No, that's what we'd said.
Really?
Yes. And he thought that, and we both. Yeah, or like it might have been some other monarch, but it was essentially that, like, kind of like a guessing answer. And he thought, because that's what we'd put, and because of how specific it was, that's like we had just like been cheating, but in actuality we were both, I think we just both have the type of personality that like when we didn't get something right, we were like, what? Like the Queen of England, I guess, you know?
I don't know. Yeah, I can totally see both of us doing like, I don't know, the Queen, like that's the only monarch that you know. Oh, the Queen of England. All right.
And I fully remember
if you were across the room, this probably never would have been an issue.
Right? And I remember distinctly saying to him, well, we have very similar personalities, so you shouldn't doubt that we would put the same fucking answer. We're friends! Like,
also, we probably studied together.
Yeah.
So no wonder why we had all the same answers.
And like, I don't know, like, I think about that to this day because that did give me the most anxiety I think I've ever had in a classroom about anything.
Yeah, I distinctly remember you jokingly, but I didn't know at the time, saying like, I just remember being in the auditorium because we were like, I don't know, for choir or something. I just remember you going, I don't know, well, Kaitlin cheated on my global test. And I remember being like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
Because I was afraid that you thought, like, because I was also afraid. It was less about him. It was more about, I want my friend to think I cheated on her.
Yeah, so you're like, so you cheated on me.
I had to point the blame. No, I didn't think that. I never thought that. I just thought it was weird as shit.
I just remember you. That's my one like really distinct memory. Is just like hearing you say that and being like, no, I didn't. I don't know how to. I don't know, like, because you know, like when you know you didn't do something and you're just trying to get someone to believe you, and they just won't, and you're like, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yes,
this isn't true.
Yes, right. And at the end of the day, I think that was the thing that frustrated me the most about the whole experience. Is just like, we both very obviously didn't cheat, and like it didn't matter what we said. He just was not going to believe us. Like he was in his mindset. He was in his boomer moment. He was having a boomer moment. He was like, no. He felt, and he was so happy that he'd done this. He thought he was very like clever.
Oh, he was so clever.
Yeah, I have a feeling he tells that story to classes now, and he's like, and it's true, they did cheat. And one of these days, I'm gonna like break down the door and be like, we didn't. That didn't happen.
I don't remember, like, and here's the thing, the outcome of that didn't fucking matter.
No! No, like, people have done worse things. Like, no.
Like, we're good.
No. But
however, you did cheat on your rating for this book, so
I did. I copied Kaitlin's rating because I also said 4 out of 5, because I like the writing a lot. And if I did have to choose one book of those that we've written to remain a stable text for high school students, like at gunpoint, like if somebody made me choose, because ultimately I'd probably just say throughout the whole canon, like it's a nightmare. But if I had to choose, I would probably choose this one. Like it's a good book.
Yeah,
It keeps me.
It's really good.
It keeps me engaged. I like it. Thank you for listening to Lit by Moonlight. Tune in next time when we may or may not have trauma from how absolutely unreasonably graphic Lord of the Flies is.
Mommy, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Piggy. All I remember is Piggy. I'm afraid.
Ugh, Piggy.